So it's going live, and I hope you will see my message soon. It takes few seconds before it get communicated or hosted on LinkedIn as well as YouTube. So I pause for around 30 seconds and then I start talking about your queries, which probably can help you in preparing better for your PMP exam. So I see some of you started joining in. I am just giving another 30 seconds and then I get started with the initial topics and then we talk about your queries as we go along. I think the LinkedIn is not yet live, so I'm just paused. Yeah, I can see it's live now. And I see that 3 of you are already in the room. I better click this and make it mute, and that might work. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our live session. It's a event which I'm doing to talk about project management and your PMP preparation. We have been doing it for a while. Then in between we stopped it. Now from last 4 weeks, I'm doing it pretty consistently every week. And we can talk about your project management related queries and your PMP preparation related queries. You might be at any stage of preparation, maybe starting up or in the advanced stage. We can assist. Yeah, probably you put a question. I have been teaching PMP for a while. It's more than 12 years. I think professionally I'm teaching the PMP program, and I did it in 2006, pretty old. So I can probably help you in understand the project management related concepts pertaining to a PMP exam. Now, in these sessions, I start with a one topic because it sometimes takes time to start getting questions. So I start with introducing a basic concept, and then probably we can start talking about your specific queries if you have related to your PMP preparation or any topic. So if you have something in mind, please paste your queries in the chat area, comment area. It should reach me, and then we go as it flows. Yeah, sometimes LinkedIn takes time to sync up these messages, but I hopefully it will work good, and I'm keeping eye on my LinkedIn page as well. Now, like last time, we spoke about agile and productive, and then we explored generic queries related to PMP. Today, I'm focusing on business value and outcome. I personally observe many project managers are not exposed to talking about business values. When I review various profiles, because people send me because they are preparing for jobs and they are not getting the desired responses, many a time, or I would say 90% of the time, when I see a project manager profile, they try to stress on that we delivered project on time, on budget, those kind of things. But we should realize that nowadays, from at least from 3-4 years, and it was always the intent as well, that major focus is on what kind of impact we have created with the help of that project, what value we delivered to the clients, to the stakeholders, so that project is considered that it has made something or impact has been made by spending that particular money. So as a project manager, I need to care for business value as well. So we should be aware of it. Now, how do I care for it? First, I need to understand what is a business value. If I just focus on project scope or the statement which is given to me, I may not be able to understand the real reason behind the project. So if I am doing strategic projects, then probably I need to look at a business case. If I'm doing contract driven projects, then probably I need to read the contract well. And those stakeholders who are key stakeholders, I probably need to ask them, what is your purpose? What are you trying to achieve by delivering this particular project? And based on my stakeholder interaction or study of various artifacts, I need to identify some kind of matrices or a success criteria, which we can review on an ongoing basis as well, rather than hoping the project will deliver value at the end. That is expected from project manager. I'm not at all talking anything which is beyond PMP scope. So we have a task too in our business domain, which focuses on, as a project manager, I should have an awareness of business value. I should ensure that I work with the stakeholder and we create common understanding of business value. And as a project manager, whenever the opportunities comes, usually on phase ends, in case of predictive life cycle, in case of adaptive life cycle, during iteration finishing or sprint finishing, during iteration review, sprint review, I should be highlighting on what value our project has achieved and how are we doing against the anticipated value. If I have a good understanding of business objectives and the outcome, it also improves my communication with my business stakeholders. I can speak in their language and I can negotiate the scope better, because I can say, oh, this thing is very complex to implement, but as for our value understanding, hardly adding any business value. So I can bring that thought and have that conversation, which can help my stakeholder also appreciate my understanding, and it can create a better communication so we can deliver value at a faster pace. Yes, it is still 8% part of business domain only. Your major focus will remain people domain and process domain. But still, many a time I see the PMP exam test taker, when they share their result, the business domain is usually a weak area. So though there are only 4 tasks and 8% contribution, but still it comes as a separate ranking. So I think probably you need to focus on ensuring that business value get delivered. Now, to take it further, we do have our ECO tool on our website, and you can do a task-based questions as well. So I recommend you to explore our business domain 4 tasks and associated question. You can definitely explore the task 2, which is all about delivering business value early and looking for tracking and understanding of a project manager related to business value. Yeah, so that's something I can encourage. And if you have any specific query related to business value or anything, you can put it into the chat section and we can explore together. Yeah. So this option to write a query is open. Just put it in the comment area and we move from there. In the meantime, I can show you the section which we have related to the domain, which I am talking about, business domain thing. So I'm sharing the screen to just show you the ECO tool, which can help you in taking this thing further. So you go to our website, izenbridge.com, no login needed. You go down and you explore our task tool, ECO task tool. And then in this ECO task space, you do have tasks associated with business domain. You can explore, evaluate, and deliver project benefit and value. That is something I am stressing today. We do have a little explanation of what is business value and how do you measure and how do you do things as a project manager. There is a detailed video also explaining this idea. You may want to try it out. And then there are many questions, I would say around 8 questions, which you can try out, and they can help you in understanding this task 2 better, and also helps you in understanding the business value better. As you probably know, each question is explained in the video format. So you can go down and you can see a question and understand the explanation of it, and then you can also watch the video. If you watch these videos and understand all these tasks, yeah, you are more or less ready for your PMP exam. Yeah, we do have a cases where people are not doing anything other than just doing this and getting certified. So don't take this tool lightly. It can help you in getting ready for your PMP exam. So this is about value, and I pause here and let's see if we get a question and we talk about your PMP preparation. So we have a question. Can you talk about relationship in organization strategy, need, vision, business case, benefit management plan, project charter? So this could be a little complicated for many of us who work in a contract domain. So let's talk about it in little detail, how this whole thing is done. And good part of this thing is not part of PMP exam also. Yeah, but we should understand this. So say my organization may want to get into a particular business area. So say my organization is a bank and they are not yet in a Middle East, but they want to expand in a Middle East market. So the organization has a strategy to get into Middle East market. Yeah, that could be org level strategy. Another example org level strategy could be the organization is looking for cost optimization because competition is becoming very stiff and they are not saving money. So they might be looking automation as a strategy. So organization make a strategy for next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years for their overall business. Now, when we take a context where organization for their own growth are doing projects, I can say strategic projects, not a contract driven project. So I'm talking about strategic projects. So strategic projects, organization also have a group, many a time we call it portfolio group, who keep looking at various possible initiative we can take to achieve that strategy. Now there is a strategy, there are other need of achieving those strategy. There could be any problem also which might be taking us away from that particular strategy. So as a business analysis, that those portfolio people keep doing what we should do in order to move forward to strategy. There could be other type of needs also which we need to resolve because we have some existing problems. So based on where organization wants to go or how do we sustain our current revenue, they keep looking at various initiative. Okay, I think we need to invest here so that we can move forward towards that. So they create these initiative ideas. Yeah. So tentative projects, possible project ideas. Now these possible project ideas need to be evaluated so that we understand, is it really feasible or economical to invest in that particular space. So in order to do that evaluation, the organization may have a set of group, part of a portfolio group. They do something called business case preparation. So they may understand that, okay, this is something we have to do about it. So they may have a solution direction. They may have a high level idea of that particular solution you can put as a vision also, but they explore that is there any business case to invest in that particular initiative. Now, if that particular business case should talk about the benefits, the estimated benefits which we can get from here. Now, assuming those benefits are looking good and we approve that we want to go ahead with this project, then your project charter will come, and the project charter is an instruction or a details for a project manager to execute the project in a given style or for a given goal. Then the project charter will get initiated. Now, the company has invested some money, the project is going on, but in parallel to that, company also wants to ensure even during the project execution or even after the project execution, have we really made the desired money? Like how do we improve our decision making at a portfolio level? So for that, most likely the portfolio group will also track this project during the life cycle and beyond that. And they try to keep collecting the benefit matrices, and that is called benefit management plan. So they have a plan for doing these benefit matrices and they execute that plan to see how benefits are really realizing. Now, all these things you may not experience if you work in a contract driven project. So if customer gives you a contract and you execute the contract and give it back to him, many of these things may not be too much visible to you because these things are happening at a client end. Yeah. So for a PMP perspective, our major focus is we should have an awareness of there could be a business case which talks about the justification behind the project. There could be a benefit management plan, and as a project manager, I need to contribute to those tracking of during the project life cycle. Closely with the benefit owners. I can understand some of the benefit owners will be key stakeholders to me. So that much as a project manager, I need to know. I probably not create a business case. I'm not the one who will create and track the benefit management plan, but I will contribute there. Yeah, so that's something we can do. Okay, so we have a question. Yeah, another one. Hopefully this gives you some idea, but yeah, it's little detailed one, but I think I tried to summarize it here. If you have follow-up, please put it in the question bag. So in my organization, we have a PMs, and I have asked them for the view on PMP certification. They have mentioned that they never did a PMP. However, they have successfully done in their role over a decade. So, okay, then what is the question? So maybe a second question I see further. So in my current organization, we have PMs and I have not done it. So however, they have done it. So how relevant certification is PMP for 2024 for the future? See, my personal belief is if you are great in doing your job, your performance brings new job for you. Your performance brings growth for you. Yeah. And you don't have to tell someone that I'm good because you are working in the organization and people know, everybody knows about you. So when everybody knows about you, you don't have to prove that you are good. Yeah. So if you are working in the organization and if you continue working in that organization, you have a good track record and people like your execution, then you better focus your energy on showing that you are doing a good job and you will definitely get appreciated. Yeah. Now, majorly when the PMP certification people do, they sometimes do just to make sure, am I doing things as per industry? I might be great in this organization, but how do I talk to other organizations? So that could be a reason of doing it. Yeah, you need to see your business case. I'm not saying that you must do it, but that's one of the reason people do it. Another type of people who do it, they are looking for some kind of formal project management role. They might be doing many things in their current organization, but they want to transition to a formal project management role. That's why they do it. Other people do it because they are looking from beyond current organization. They are saying, in a current organization, people know me, but what if I want to go somewhere else and want to make myself more employable and flexible? Because other people may not understand my whole experience and I probably need to explain them. And I may not be able to apply for new jobs because many jobs ask for recommendation, or sometimes they ask mandatory for a PMP certification. So if any of these three things are making a sense to you, you do it. If you are enjoying your current job and you see that your current work itself is giving a lot of growth to you, then probably you don't care of doing PMP certification. Yeah, that's something you can do. Other fourth category is people who have just a desire of learning. Nobody is going to give them money and they are not looking for money as a direct output, but they know, after 3-4 years, I want to prove myself. I want to prove that I have a better project management knowledge. You can prove yourself by doing great project delivery also. That's also a good idea. But somebody may want to prove it generically, they do PMP certification. So these are some of the reasons. If these reasons make sense to you, you do it. People who come to me, they are many a time in the move from one job to another job. Many a time they are moving from ad hoc project management to proper project management. Sometimes they see that it is also recommended by seniors to encourage them learning. So these are the reasons people come to me. Yeah. Okay, so this is something we did. Yeah, great idea. So I am thinking, so thankfully the LinkedIn comment is that strategy and need are the same thing? So say you have a need of getting a better job. Yeah. Now your strategy is you want to educate yourself to get a better job. That could be one strategy. Another strategy could be that you want to migrate to another country to get a better job. Yeah. So that's a one thing. Sometimes need generates a strategy. Yeah. So high level need, you want to get more money. You have a need, you want to earn money, and then you have a strategy of achieving that need. Yeah. That way you can see it. But for a PMP exam, I understand that overall, what I'm doing, should I do a knowledge learning or should I go for immigration? Now that's the two possible projects. Yeah. So as a person, you can earn more money by improving your knowledge or your certification, or you can go to different country and probably you can make more money. So these are two project initiative to you, which are triggered by a need. Now overall strategy will decide, which strategy you are working on. You may have a more initiative there. That's how you can see it. That's the one possibility. Another possibility is sometimes organization may have opportunity-based strategies also. So I want to do something, and because of that, also I may generate some needs. You can say I want to go into Middle East market, and that may generate a need of upgrading my software which are compatible with Middle East market. So these are the strategic is more about solution direction. Need is about a problem direction. From a problem, you can drive strategy. From a solution, you may generate some problems and you can also drive solutions for it. Yeah. So need can come either way, but usually we can say, okay, we have a need and then we generate our business case. You can have a strategy in between, before or afterwards. Yeah. But please, for PMP exam, don't worry about these things. You need to focus on understanding that as a project manager, I need to understand the business value of this project. And how do I do it? By talking to stakeholder or by studying the business case and having an awareness of benefit management plan. And with this discussion, I create some kind of KPI, some kind of matrices, which ensures that we are on a periodic basis tracking them. There will be a benefit owner who will be tracking it more, but I track and contribute to them. When I am closing the project, I need to make sure that I hand over the overall future benefit realization to a benefit owner, And I also enable change and transitioning activity in such a manner so that benefit can be materialized. So that much you should know as a PMP exam taker, and focus on task 2 to practice 7-8 questions. Watch all of those videos. You are done with this particular task. Yeah. If you want to do PMI PBA, then definitely you focus on a little bit more on need assessment. There is a domain called need assessment, and you focus on that. If you want to do PFMB, then you focus on more strategy, how organization prepare strategy and how do they evaluate which particular option is good and how do they approve it, how do you maximize the overall ROI for your projects. Yeah, so that's a possible thing. So there's a question, PMP versus Agile versus Scrum, which one to choose? So we need to understand PMP is a learning curriculum which includes Agile, Scrum, and traditional project management. So it is not like something I say, what should I choose? So PMP include these things. PMP is just a preparation thing. So PMP, what is a PMP? The PMI does a periodic study in the industry and try to understand what makes typically project managers successful. And based on their review, they identify the tasks which are expected to be done by the project manager. As of now, we have a 35 tasks. We call it exam content outline. Out of those 35 tasks, they further subdivide them. They call them enabler. And they say, this is all project manager has to do. Now, in our current 35 tasks, they do talk about the project manager should be able to work in the adaptive manner. He should be able to select the appropriate life cycle, adaptive, Scrum, flow-based Kanban approach, or a predictive life cycle. He should be able to select all those things. So we understand that overall life cycles will be needed to deliver things. Yeah. So these are tools. So Scrum is a tool for making a delivery. Project manager should have a capability of choosing that tool when it is appropriate and using that tool in order to make a delivery. Yeah, so that is the context. It is just not that PMP is against Scrum or PMP is more than Scrum. It's just like that. Yeah. Okay, so after PMP certification, interested in pre-sales or sales, is there any certification or work on it? If so, is there any certification offered from your end? My recommendation that after PMP, if you want to go into sales space, you may want to go into solutioning sales. Yeah. And you may want to enhance your business analysis skills. Yeah. Because as a salesperson, you may not be going in a pure, tracking RFPs and all. If you want to do, then you probably need to focus on other market research and presentation skills as well. But the overlap you see or extension you see is a business analysis, or many times it is more associated with pre-sales activity. Yeah. So doing a good analysis and understanding of business analysis domain is a good idea. Now, from a PMI space, they have a certification called PMI PBA, which in a simple word, you can say the project scope management area you have probably learned about, that will get extended and become a full program for you, starting about need assessment, requirement elicitation, traceability of requirement, ensuring the overall evaluation of requirements, and making sure the customers really sees it, makes a use of it. That whole process of managing the requirement from identification till delivery is explained in the PMI PBA space. We do have an online program for that, but I think you finish the PMP first. PMP itself is a good step forward, because we do talk about managing scopes with the help of user stories and with the help of WBS both. So that should be a good starting point, but you can extend in case you feel that is more needed. You can extend with PMI PBA and then practice and do a lot of presentation and communication things that will help you in getting better in I think sales and pre-sales activity. That's what I can see here. Okay, so that's the idea which we picked up here. Okay, so we have a pause here. Okay, Noor is back. So from one question for you, what is the mean of rule of 7? When and where do I use this KPI? So this rule of 7 from a PMP perspective, Noor, is usually used in our control chart space. Yeah. So it is basically used to ensure that do we have a process which is under control. So say you are working on your development and test space. Based on your historical data, you expect on a weekly basis, you should get minimum defects 5 and maximum 15. Yeah. So 5 to 15, if any number of defects are coming on a weekly basis, you are okay because that's a normal defect flow you are expecting. But if something going beyond that, as a project manager, you want to look into that matter. Now somebody will say, from where you got a 5 to 15 data? Based on historical understanding, based on my stakeholder expectation, we set up these thresholds because we have been observing normally we get 10, 11 defects, but it could be sometime minimum 5 and maximum 15. So you create these control limits. You are saying that as a manager, I am going to put more attention to our quality process if I have less than 5 or more than 15 defects reported in a given week. So you have a upper control limit and lower control limit, and you keep tracking the thing. If you have 10, 11, 7, 14 defects, you probably can say, okay, let's continue, no problem. Yeah, so that's there. Now, under these control limits, if it is a consecutive observations are going in a one site, so you can say, I usually want to only track when they breach 5 to 15, but if on a regular basis, from last 7 consecutive occasions, if I see the defects are coming in a one side of the mean might say one is more than 10 or less than 10. So if I say from last 7 days, we have a 12, 13, 14, 11, 12, 13, 14, these kind of defects are coming. So what it shows that our process is not randomized around mean. It is shifting towards the upper limit. And since it's a 7 consecutive, it's just used as a thumb rule. There is a 7 consecutive observation that it is shifted towards the one particular control limit. Then also I want to do intervention. I says, guys, what is happening here? Looks like we can breach these limits at any point in time because from last 7 days, we are consistently seeing our defects are coming towards that particular area. So that will also trigger my analysis as a project manager. So I may want to do corrective and preventive actions looking at the consecutive 7 observations coming in a one side of mean. So that is we call rule of 7, and we use it in our generic project managements. Yeah. Okay, so that's the thing. So if you are watching us on YouTube or on LinkedIn, please feel free to put your query. In a LinkedIn also, you can put in a comment area. Fortunately, we are getting those messages pushed today. So I saw some of them coming in. And yeah, you can also put it, in the YouTube section. Yes. So we have a user Games. He's saying, hello Games. Yeah, hello and welcome to the session. So if you have any query, please do put it. We'll try to explore together. Yeah. So some of you who might not be knowing what we have been doing this week. So we published many videos, I think, many interesting video this week. If you are not following our YouTube channel, please subscribe and follow it. Yeah, so that's something is there. We pushed something around what we call it, something around SAFe. Yeah, we had one epic features and user story video published I think yesterday only. And in the beginning of the week, we also published one detailed video on Scrum Master interview experience. So if you are looking for a job and you are going through some interviews, you probably want to check that particular video also. Okay, so we have more questions. So I take them one by one. So we need to ask the purpose to the client. When the project object is already fixed by the business sponsor, how may I go back and ask, what is the purpose of this project to a stakeholder? So say, for example, yeah, you come to me and you say, I want to do PMP certification, and you get enrolled to me. And I understand that there is something is not working. Then I probably ask, okay, you want to do PMP certification? I'm your PMP trainer. I will train you. But what would you like to achieve out of it? Yeah, what is your goal? And then you tell me that my goal is I want to get a job by doing PMP certification. Okay, great. So I understand the business value you are looking for, job change. Now, when we are discussing PMP topics later on, sometimes you say, this is something I'm not interested. Can I pass? Just ignore these topics. I will say, yeah, you can probably pass, but I think your goal is getting a better jobs. So for jobs, you probably need to have these skills. Maybe for exam, you are sufficient, but for a job, I think you need to put more stress on this particular topic. Or there could be a topic in PMP space which just need to be studied from an exam perspective, because for a job interviews, that is not a closed topic. So do I get an understanding of a story behind what have been told to me? So what have been told to me is I want to do PMP, but I want to understand what is behind it. Another thing, somebody comes, like take a project management example. Someone comes and says, I want this website. You can say, okay, you want to get this website, we will make it. Yeah. Then I ask, what is the objective of this website? How do you want to make use of it? And then person explain that this is something I want to make money out of, or this is how many users I will get, or this is a type of product I want to sell. Okay, I get an idea that you want to sell these kind of product, and what kind of customers you want to target. Or you want to target people who are going to colleges. So if it is coming very clearly in the project description, great idea. If it is not, probably I talk to them so that I can understand that well. Yeah, so that's the idea here. Okay, so can you explain regarding retrospective stages? For a PMP exam, you don't have to memorize them. You don't have to focus on that, I need to know exactly retrospective stages. In a simple word, there are some material documents which gives you some idea to organize a retrospective meeting. It is just a recommended meeting steps, yeah, which can be followed in a retrospective. Yeah, so you can say, yeah, that's the whole idea. Now, some of you, it's a simple thing. How do you get started with any meeting? So you can say we can do a set the stage. Okay, that's a one stage. Possible. It's just a simple thing. We set the agenda. We make sure that what we are trying to do, you set the agenda for any meeting. That you probably want to say, okay, let's look at a fact and figures. So you will collect facts and figures. Now, in some book, they will say gather data. So you can gather data. You can gather the facts in a concrete manner. You may get a facts from a subjective manner also. What do you feel about these? So you gather data. Then you probably brainstorm about it. You have a lot of data and all. Then you may generate insight. You can say, let's do a brainstorming about it so that we can find out what should we do. Then probably you decide what you want to do next. You may prioritize it, and then you may close the retrospective. So if you are asking this question from a perspective of PMP exam, there is no need of memorizing these things. You are just saying that yes, retrospective is a meeting which helps the group to reflect on their past performance, help them in finding out how they should work well with each other so that they can make work more interesting for themselves as well as for the stakeholders. Now, as a project manager or a scrum master, I need to facilitate this meeting in a well manner. There are some guidance. I can create my own facilitation guidance as well. But some guidance styles, so you can set the stage, you can gather the data, you can generate insights, you decide what to do, and then you can close the retrospective and say thank you to others. Yeah, so these are the possible things, but don't worry too much about, gather data or collect data. Anything will work. Yeah, you will say collect data, doesn't matter. You need to understand the aspect of it. PMI is not at all going to ask these steps, at least for PMP exam, but a sense has to be understood. Yeah. So post PMP, ITIL, Six Sigma, ACP, or any other certificate roadmap. So I spoke about you, and when you say pre-sales, then I see the PMI PBA is a good idea. Agile, we have another set of Agile like Scrum certification and Leading Safe certification. That could be a good idea if you are focusing on safe. So it depends upon your overall profile. You can share your profile, then I can give a specific advice what might be good. So finish your PMP, share your profile. We'll talk about those things in detail. Yeah. Okay, so explain a detailed analysis where you fail to deliver a deliverable with predictive and adaptive projects. So these kind of questions you can definitely expect in the interview. Yeah. And if you say you never failed, then the interviewer will think that you are not clear or you have not done enough work. So say if you have played the game, you must have missed, you must got out. Yeah, you must have lost the game. So you can't say that I have played these many matches and I have never lost. Yeah, maybe you have that kind of record, but less likely. So if you say I have never lost the game, the other person will think that you have never played enough. Yeah. But if you talk about that your loss was disastrous, then person may says you don't know how to play. So if someone is saying that you play this game, tell me when you lost and how was your experience of losing. Yeah. So you need to be very clear that you show that yes, I lost, and you also show that you have done your best effort to win that particular game, and you also show what you have learned from that particular loss. Yeah. Accordingly, and that story should match with your description in your profile. Yeah. So you have a projects explained, you have a location explained, you have an organization explained. You don't create a hypothetical answer. Once there was a project and I lost it or I made it, the person will say, where do I see that particular project in this particular profile? Yeah. So think critically about your current project experiences only. Maybe you don't talk about the whole blunder of the project. Maybe you identify intermediate milestones. You talk about some of the sprints where you could not meet the sprint objective. You pick up those ideas very carefully, and you show that we are taking learning in account. So you need to demonstrate openness. You need to demonstrate confidence in talking about failure. And you need to also demonstrate that with failure, I am coming out as a strong person. Yeah. Now, all these things has to be practiced and they should match with your story in your profile. Don't create hypothetical stories. Yeah. So that much I can say if it is pertaining to the interview question. So can you please explain the business impact summary? So I'm hoping that you may have some document where you put a business impact summary. Yeah, that's a possibility. So in a simple word, how, like the explanation or conversation we were doing, someone is doing PMP and I says, what is your business impact of doing PMP? What are you expecting out of PMP? Can you summarize the key indicators or the benefits you want to get? Now, similarly, somebody may say, we want to do a cost optimization project. Yeah, I can say, okay, what kind of business impact, what kind of returns, what kind of a tangible and intangible returns we are hoping to get out of it. So from a PMP perspective, it goes back to our business domain, task 2. I need to understand what business value and what outcome my stakeholders are expecting. So I document that in case if I have to document it. And then I need to talk about what kind of matrices or KPIs can help me in seeing, are we getting those desired business impacts? Yeah, that's the second thing I may get it. The third thing, I may also talk about a mechanism of collecting and tracking those information throughout the project lifecycle. So we ensure the alignment to the business impacts. Yeah, so that's the overall idea. So say you might be doing project, yeah, but company may want to earn money out of it. So business impact could be growth in revenue. You might be doing project, the company might want to get into a different market segment with it. Yeah, so it may be a customer base expansion or a clientele expansion could be a goal of that particular project initiative. That's a business impact they are looking for. So we need to understand depending upon our project description and the case. But as a project manager, I need to have a clarity so I can speak my domain people knowledge, and I can also point out how do I track and take it forward. In order to practice these kind of questions, as I shared in the previous space, go to izenbridge.com. We have a tutorial. Look for task 2 of our business domain. Study that and you have a 7-8 questions with the video explanation. If you do that well, you are good for your business value related questions in the PMP exam. So can you share a generic scenarios for a predictable thing? So I'd say a project failure for a predictive, for an adaptive, I would say it has less to do with the life cycle. Yeah, it has more to do with how overall stakeholder engagement fails. Yeah, so say you can have definitely a deployment failures where you want to deploy a particular release and you could not do it because the environment was not ready. I can talk about even my first project, which was a big failure, even in the 2000 or 1999, where I work on two spaces. Once I took a failure project, I did many projects which were failed, and then our team came in and they made successful. Those were also failures. So one of the project, we made a great idea. We developed everything. When we put it to the deployment, when it has a lot of production data, it started slowing down and started crashing. And it took another 3 months to restructure and revamp the whole architecture to make it work in that particular environment. So the whole, now, is it a failure or a success? Depends upon how do you present it. But it happened because we missed looking at a production data and production scenarios in the beginning. And when we got the real data, we faced the problem, and then we overcome it. Yeah, so we could do as a learning that next time onwards, we started making the production data as a useful, and so that we don't miss our timelines because of such kind of performance issues. So you need to bring a lot of things, but it has to match with your profile. Yeah. So you may have such kind of performance issue. You may have another type of failures where your stakeholder got significantly revamped. So you are working for one particular government. We had one project, and government got changed. Yeah. And government got changed. The whole stakeholder got changed. Now we have a struggle in finding out how do we move forward with that particular requirement, and we got stuck. Yeah, we could not move much there. So so it depends. But whole I think is they are my example. They may not be fitting example for you. You need to find out your one. But yeah, these kind of things probably can give you some idea to find that particular example. Okay. So assume that I am a senior leadership person who is currently handling a large team, hence generally as a delivery manager, how do I resolve a major issues which is causing by the government body? Okay, yeah, so something I spoke about it. So I don't know. Yeah, it is something resolvable and sometimes not resolvable. Yeah. So we need to understand how do you navigate to government bodies. Sometimes we end up hiring licensing companies who are specialized in these jobs. So they take money and they handle it for us. Yeah, sometimes we do that. Sometimes we find some influencer. So it's very difficult depending upon which government and what. But in general, I need to do my stakeholder assessment. If I just theoretically speak, yeah, and I need to find the right stakeholder who can do these things well for me. And my experience of working with the government thing is usually you end up working with some party who is specialized in doing this particular job. Yeah, that's what we have been doing in those situations, but you may have another examples as well. Yeah, but it costs money. Yeah, somewhere money has to go to a middle company or to the government directly, but it will cost money. That's what I have been observing. Okay, so now I'm aiming to prepare for PMP and almost studies all, but while writing some trial exam, I get stuck getting 65 to 70%. How should I improve and find my gaps? So say this week, yeah, we had one of our participant who did 0 mock test and passed the exam. Yeah, but he did it. He just relied on our live class videos. So he attended the live class with full focus. And after class got over, he watched the recording of the live class 4 times, made his own notes, gave the exam and got certified. So what I'm trying to say is, even if someone does 0 preparation, yeah, and they go for exam, even without watching videos again and again, there is a 50-60% chances the person will pass in the exam. Because exam is all about testing your project management experience based on those 35 tasks. So if you have a good understanding of those 35 tasks and you know how to deal with these situations, you will pass. Yeah. Now, in order to increase the probability of pass, you do all extra effort and you do lots of mock test. Now, it also depends upon mock test quality. There are some mock tests which may give you false confidence. There are some mock tests which will keep you engaged for very long and you delay your exam. So in general, I think if person feels I am confident, and you can go to our ECO tool, watch our 35 tasks, watch the videos associated with those tasks, around 130 questions. If you find those things comfortable, or even if you watch once and if you've done a fundamental already, you will pass. That's it. Yeah. Now, in a 5% case, if you don't pass, still you can give it again. But rather than keep delaying, it may not make much sense. Now, for a mock test, you may need to talk to the provider of the mock test who can tell you what percentage is a good enough to predict this is a good pass marks thing, because they have a historical data. For example, for our clients, we do have a historical data. We do recommend 65 to 70%, but we do know even people scoring 60% also pass the exam. Yeah. So depending upon which mock test and where you are taking, if you are taking our mock test and mock full length 1, 2, 3, 4. So you know from our roadmap, if you attempt mock test in a first time and if you score more than 65%, you are good. Yeah. If you don't, you analyze your problems, then you go to second mock. Hopefully this time you score first time 65% plus, you are good. Yeah. So don't delay, yeah, but it depends upon which mock you are talking about. Yeah. So I don't know the historical data of other mock tests, but I know about our one. Yeah, that much I can tell. But if you are taking something else, then it's difficult to predict. But in general, my advice is go to our videos, browse them. If you find everything familiar, go for exam. Yeah, most likely 99% you will make it rather than delaying it further. So what are the challenges you faced related to budgeting and forecasting? So again, it looks like an interview question. And I would say that you need to talk about your current project or a future project, or a past project, and you talk about those challenges. And most of the project face these challenges, most of the projects, yeah, because projects are done in uncertain situation. The productivity assumption, the market assumption, the price assumptions, the duration assumptions, the people availability assumptions keep getting derailed. Yeah. So we had project where everybody estimated it for 9 months, but because of various dependency, it lasted for 2 years. And definitely we had a significant variance. So yeah, so there are many things, sometimes like Noor talking about government challenges. So if you are working in a government sector, you need to plan for all those dependencies, laws change, bodies change, government change, yeah, the political government change. All those things can bring and derail your whole project significantly. So you need to see, but yeah, definitely these are the general causes which are discussed in our PMP class as well. But there could be specific causes which you need to find out based on your experience. So nowadays, since the recruiters also trying to dig deeper into your project management experience or a Scrum Master experience as well, people are not asking questions like, can you tell what is WBS? Can you tell what is Gantt chart, or what is a milestone, or how do you do resource leveling? Those kind of questions used to come before, but nowadays they try to ask you to explain a situation where it was becoming difficult to do a resource leveling and stakeholder were not in agreement of it, and how do you manage that? So that kind of questions will come. Rather than asking what is budget and how do you take care of variance, they may ask what is the current variance of your project if you are following predictive life cycle, yeah, and how you are managing and forecasting this variance to be toward by the end of this project. So they try to see that, do you have these data, do you have this information available for your current project, for your past project, rather than you just talk about theoretically about it. So if I have lack there, I need to make sure that I get into all my project management concept and try to see some kind of equated data in my current project, in my past project. Yeah. And from there, I start thinking and answering those interview questions. Yeah. So that's something I can say. So which days you do these live programs and what time? Yes, Ashish, I'm trying to stabilize that. I'm trying to stabilize that, but not yet. So usually I do anything between Thursday or Friday, Indian time, 7 p.m. But yet to finalize which one, yeah? Because sometime I get stuck one day, another day. I think in a week or two I will settle down. But as of now, every week, 7 p.m., either on Thursday or on Friday. Yeah, that's something. But I publish in advance, but out of these 2 days. So we can say that what is the difference between Lean, Scrum and Extreme Programming? So for a PMP exam, you don't have to worry about it, don't to memorize it. But if you are talking about PMP exam, we do need to know about on-demand scheduling. So when we talk about project scheduling in PMP exam, we talk about 3 types of scheduling: predictive scheduling, adaptive time box scheduling, and on-demand flow-based scheduling. So these 3 should be understood. Now, on-demand flow-based scheduling sometimes get connected with the lean way of working, but lean is a little wider topic, which is more about management principles and ideas to talk about eliminating waste, focusing on improving customer satisfaction. That is the focus area. It's a wider aspects of it. But for a PMP exam, it's more about on-demand scheduling. Now, extreme programming is not at all there in a PMP exam. I know sometimes you see the product box exercise is used in XP, and you may have some mock test asking about XP. very, very unlikely you get any question about extreme programming in your exam. So what is extreme programming? It's a book. You can find out extreme programming as a first edition, second edition, there are books. Now this extreme programming book talks about various software development practices, how to code, how to integrate, how to do an automation test, those kind of things. It's a pure software engineering practices. What do you do exploratory testing? How do you do pair programming? So they have various collection of ideas which makes your software development better and faster. That's the idea. Now, can I use this with Scrum? Yes, you end up using with Scrum. Can I use this with a flow-based approach? Yes, you can use it. Yeah. Can I use it with my predictive lifecycle? To some extent. Yeah, you can use some exploratory testing, pair programming, or maybe continuous integration with that. But you may not be able to use user story way of working if you are following a predictive lifecycle. So for a PMP exam, I say don't worry about it. If you are working in a software industry, then you probably want to know more about it. But if you are coming from non-software industry, then you just say that, yes, in a scheduling space, I need to know about predictive scheduling and on-demand scheduling and adaptive scheduling in a time-boxed manner. Yeah? And adaptive scheduling in a time-boxed manner is more associated with Scrum. You should have a fair understanding of Scrum for PMP. Yes, PMP exam is not a Scrum exam. It is not going to ask you what is a time box for sprint planning meeting. No. Yeah. So, but it understands that you probably can choose when to use a time boxing and when to use meetings like sprint planning. So you as a project manager can choose the Scrum stylish work. You can customize some Scrum stylish work. So you don't have to memorize Scrum rules, but you need to understand the style of Scrum. Yeah. So that much Scrum is needed. If you have no clue about whole Scrum idea, then it might be a little risky, because most of the adaptive lifecycle topics are revolving around sprinting way of working or Scrum way of working. We call it iteration. We don't just necessarily call it sprint in the questions, but that is needed. Yeah. So what is the difference between business management plan? No idea what is business management plan. For a PMP perspective, we can talk about benefit management plan, but they may have some kind of thing there. But project management plan, we know. Yeah, so that is there. So how do you change governance, change in your project? Come up with the example. There is no right answer. So how do you handle your CEO getting changed, your management getting changed, the client representative getting changed? In a simple word, you do need to recalibrate with them. You need to re-agree with your governance threshold. You need to re-agree with your matrices. You need to give a briefing to them about their project and the progress, and understand their new expectation and do a changes in your communication style. So most likely your communication management plan will get impacted, your governance activities will get impacted, your quality matrices will get impacted. But I need to proactively seek those clarity so that I can work with the new governance group. Yeah. So request you to do more project management interview series similar to Scrum. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you want to talk about your project management experience, any one of you can drop an email and we can talk about that similarly the way we do in a Scrum work. Yeah. So what is the meaning of need analysis? This is a business analyst role. Usually it's a PMI PBA topic where you focus on the need or a problem which you are facing. Do you have a need of doing PMP? That's a thing. So it's more about doing the analysis of your current opportunities or current problems, which helps us in identifying what is the need, what do we want to do. Yeah. And that will get triggering. Sometimes you create a need statement or a problem statement also, which will trigger a business case. So before you think about any initiative, you should have a problem in mind. Yeah. That is the analyzing the opportunities and problems and coming up with the need of doing something is a need analysis, which is a precursor to a business case. Yeah. So, but you don't have to worry about in a PMP exam. Yes, in our lesson 1 we spoke. So if you watch our lesson 1 recording, you will see that, but that is there. Yeah. So what is the component of benefit management plan? It will be a PGMP or PFMP topic in detail. For a PMP perspective, sticking to that, I need to understand that the overall tracking of benefits needs to be done periodically. There should be some benefit owner who wants to make utilization of the project outcomes. So I have someone identifies as a benefit owner, and that benefit owner has some expectation and some measurement points. And that benefit owner prepares this benefit management plan, the portfolio group or benefit thing. Now, as a project manager, I should have an awareness of it because I will provide those respective data to this particular person so that this guy can guide us or help us in influencing the project in a better manner. So that's the overall idea of benefit management plan. So what areas we need to focus on applying for PMO position? Organization process assets, communication management plan, monitoring and control. Yeah. So out of your PMP topic, if you focus on these three topics more, yeah. So how do you maintain, what are the organization process assets, focusing on monitoring and control and all matrices, yeah, and communication. So a good understanding of communication management plan, because the PMO or a project coordinator might be focusing on these three areas more. Yeah, the project manager would be focusing on stakeholders, teams, costing, scheduling. Sometimes the PMO people may involve in managing some part of resourcing, but I think these are the three topics one has to focus more in order to get ready for PMO positions. What is the mean INV of time box, time period, and on-demand scheduling? What is the meaning? I think you are saying what is the meaning of time box, time period, and on-demand scheduling? So it's our project scheduling topic. The idea of on-demand scheduling, I think you want to understand what is the difference between the time box scheduling and on-demand scheduling. I'm assuming that, yeah, that is my assumption. If my assumption is right, so the Scrum way of working is a time box scheduling. So you have a backlog, you pick up the element or from the high priority items from the backlog, as much you can do in a given time box. You do a sprint planning / iteration planning, you pick up that, you execute it, and you create an iteration review and retrospective, and you move to another cycle. So working in these cycles, exploratory cycles, you can call them sprint or you call them iteration. This is called time boxed way of working. Now you may have an element of your project where a lot of ad hoc requests are coming. So say you might be going for deployment, and during deployment, stakeholder might be asking various support tickets, and you may not be able to plan these support tickets in advance. These things keeps emerging. So what do? You create a dedicated team and say that we have a mechanism of working. You put a flow using a Kanban board. Any new request comes, you put it here. If you have a capacity available, you pull it. You set up some rules around that. You don't make a plan for next 10 days, 5 days. You can say the work will keep coming, and based on our capacity, we'll keep doing and we'll keep closing. Yeah? That kind of work usually needed for sustaining your deliverable or support part of work, not the whole project, is called on-demand scheduling. Many a time it is also get associated with the Kanban way of working, though Kanban is a little wider topic. It is just not this. We can use Kanban in multiple ways, but from a PMP exam perspective, they are saying portion of your project may have an on-demand scheduling where you may not be time boxing your work. The portion of your project may have a Scrum-based working, which may be a time boxing of your work, and the other part you may follow a predictive life cycle where you might be planning the projects for longer duration. So from a PMI authorized content, these are the three things they explain when they talk about scheduling topics. Yeah, and we do expect that there could be something out of it can come from a PMP exam because PMI is teaching these three topics. Though on-demand scheduling is less frequently seen in the exams, the major focus will remain in time boxing scheduling only, which can help you in focusing on the overall Scrum way of working. Yeah. So as a senior leadership person, how do we generate NPS? And I don't know what is ACV. Yeah, but I would say this is not a PMP question. But in case the PMP tells that you are expected to have a benefit measurement based on NPS, there is a possibility. There is a possibility. So you may have an outcome matrix. You need to follow the guideline. You need to have an agreement on the guideline. How do you calculate it? Yes, there is a standard formula available. You ask people to score between 1 to 10. How likely are you to promote our services to others? You put those kind of questions, you collect the data, and then you have a formula, you calculate NPS. Yeah. But for PMP exam, less likely. If you just understand this is something, an understanding of a customer satisfaction, that much is enough. Yeah, that much is enough. Okay, yeah, so this is what we planned for today, and I see that we got good number of questions. We explored them. If you have any follow-up one, we can definitely keep talking. Yeah, you can comment on your YouTube space, and we can say, how do you coordinate interdependency between projects and teams? Yeah, program management. Yeah, program management or PMO management, using some tools. You need to tell, you probably use the MS project, you do this is a program management. You can say, how do I integrate various dependencies? Project management, PMP, is more about the project alone, but when you go multi projects, it's a program management or a PMO job. PMO may also want to focus on doing things. Now if you just want to focus on teams, then it could be a project management also. Project integration management is a topic. Yeah, so that is something we focus on. So I can say I will focus on my Gantt chart. Yeah, if you are focusing on say a predictive way of working, I will identify dependency, I will show them, and I will track a separate identifier for those activities which are dependency oriented, so I can track the variances around it, and that is something I can follow. Yeah, so you can use a Gantt chart to follow it. If you want to focus on PMP exam, you can also say we do a multiple team scrum of scrum meeting. That's the word sometimes they use in our content also. So it facilitates multiple teams talking about their interdependencies. So that could be another tool which you can use to track the dependencies inside the project. Yeah. So if it is going outside the project, it's a program management. If it's an inside the project, for a PMP exam, predictive lifecycle, you focus on Gantt chart dependencies. In adaptive lifecycle, you talk about multi-team collaborative meeting. If word like scrum of scrum is visible, you can go for it. In practice, in the agile way of working, there is a bigger framework called scaled agile framework, which focuses on this element only, because they work in a context where you want to integrate multiple agile teams. Yeah, so that something is there. So how the cost baseline help us in using the project budget? So what is project budget? Yeah, project budget comes out of cost baseline only. So it is nothing like project budget is something else. Yeah, it's same. Yeah. Now, what is the fine grained difference? On the top of cost baseline, you add management reserve, and that becomes project budget. Yeah. So what is project budget? Project budget equals to cost baseline plus management reserve. So you need to have cost baseline for finding the project budget. Yeah. Now, cost baseline can include contingencies, and you need to make sure that you do continuous reserve analysis to take care of how much contingency you need and how do you stand, where do you stand in a current contingency environment. Yeah. Okay, so we are closing now. Yeah. So how do you manage risk in a project in robust architecture? You need to give context. Yeah. So games, whenever you have a interview question, please don't take the question literally what is told to you. You need to see in the context, because these questions are open-ended and they cannot have a definitive answer. Whatever answer I give you, it may not work as it is. Rather, start focusing on how do I think about this answer rather than how do I get the answer. So you can say, how do I identify risk in a project, in a robust architecture? You can say, I have a given project. This is a project description. Now, if someone gives me a project description, how do I identify risk? So usually you start with assumption. Usually you start with talking to people. You understand, looking at a variances. Assumption analysis is a good starting tool. Yeah, that's something we can say. Okay, what is your recommendation for mock test? So we have our own mock test, so I don't have any recommendation for anything else. If you are not taking our mock test, just go for a free program which we have, 130 video questions. They should help you to augment whatever mock test you are taking, but no recommendation other than our program. Our program contains mock test as well, so it's difficult for me to comment about any other source. What is the meaning of throughput? The amount of work done in a given duration, number of counting is called throughput. So say number of story finished, number of item finished in a given duration is called throughput. Yeah. Okay, so how do we manage, produce timely reporting? That is the major thing, yeah, for a communication management plan. If we don't do it, then how do we generate that? So in our PMP answer, you use PMIS, Project Management Information System. In your real world, you might use MS Project, you might use Jira, you might use Azure DevOps. So we need to use about these tools. Now in an interview context, if this question is coming, probably the interviewer is trying to understand, do I really have a project management experience, or are we really working somewhere which is beyond Excel, or our project management practices in our organizations are matured enough, or they are just at a rudimentary stage. So in general, I personally believe as a project manager, we should have some exposure to some tools. So if you are going for interviews, try to learn. If you are working in a predictive life cycle, learning about MS Project and how do you produce those things is a good idea. If you are going for adaptive way of working, knowing about Jira is also a good idea, because all other are more or less similar. So we need to have a good grip on tools which generates various matrices. Yeah, I can say variance reports, burn down charts and all. That's something we can say. Yeah. So how the change model work? Not clear. You may need to be a little specific. Maybe post it for a next conversation, but not sure what do you mean by change model. Yeah. Yes, we do talk about ADKAR. I think we spoke about in our recent conversation. If you are talking about ADKARs and all, so they are change management model. So there is a difference between change control. There is a difference between change management, and there are change management model which supports planning the change, yeah, planning and managing the change. So if you are looking for ideas, I will recommend you to explore ADKAR. You can Google search. The Prosky has a website where they explain ADKAR well. ADKAR, ADKAR. That's a good model to start with. From a PMP content also, PMI is giving reference of ADKAR only. That's much is good enough. If you want to get into more transformation space, then you can look for Kotter's 8-step process as well. So that could be another alternative. I'm assuming you are talking about change management models. So these are the two possible models. Yeah. Okay, so I think we overshooted our time box, but all good. I think I like the ideas which came here, and I am also keeping eye on LinkedIn thing. So in case I missed your query, please you can comment on the YouTube video also. We probably will take to the next week query, or I will try to reply in the comment itself. Yeah, that's thank you Games, and we'll continue. If you want to have a specific one-on-one conversation like an interview series thing, drop us an email. We'll figure it out and we will talk. Most likely we will do our next session on Friday. Yeah, most likely. So Thursday and Friday, we will do it in Friday. If you are in the early stage of PMP preparation, we are doing a small group discussion on Thursday also. Small group discussion, which is more open, not recorded one. So you can find that detail on our website. Yeah, that's a small group discussion which we are having. Yeah, great guys. Thank you for participation. It was nice talking to you. See you soon. Do subscribe to our channel if you have not done it already, so that you get notification of our future sessions as well. Yeah, bye for now.